What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Lennox Lewis. Once again, Lennox Lewis has reignited the beef between him and Anthony Joshua, and he says that Anthony Joshua ducked Deontay Wilder, and that fight should have happened, and it's Anthony Joshua's fault once again. This is what Lennox Lewis said in detail. Lennox Lewis said, hey, when you want to fight a fighter, you offer him proper money to fight that fighter. You offer him a proper split. You don't side with your manager. You control your manager. You don't let your manager control you. You don't offer him pittance. You offer him a decent sum of money. So Lennox Lewis, of course, responds back later with this, which was just recently, okay? Now, we thought this was going to be one of those things that was swept under the rug. Obviously, Lennox Lewis isn't done or wasn't done and is not going to stop, okay? Now, when Lennox Lewis, let me counterpunch something about Lennox Lewis. Okay, this is something you need to understand about Lennox. Lennox said, when I wanted to fight a fighter, I didn't duck any fighter. I offered them a proper amount of money to make the fight. Anthony Joshua did not do that. Those are the words of Lennox Lewis. Well, first of all, Lennox Lewis was never, I can't say he was never, but fighting people like Holyfield, Mike Tyson, he was not the A side. And in fact, when he was unifying the belts with the other belt holder, which was Evander Holyfield, he accepted the money that Holyfield offered him. These are facts, people. He offered him $10 million while Holyfield received $20 million. So Holyfield received $20 million, which was double his fight purse. Did he go off on a tangent and say, hey, I want more money. Hey, I want a better split? No, he didn't do that. Why? Because he wanted to win, because Lennox Lewis believed that he could beat Evander Holyfield. And he did it twice. And that's what happened. And that's the rest of the story. Now, if Deontay Wilder was trying to go or follow Lennox Lewis's footsteps, why didn't he do what Lennox Lewis done? You ever heard the saying, don't do what I say, do what I do? Monkey see, monkey do, right? Those are sayings that you see what a person does and you emulate that. You follow those steps. If Deontay Wilder wanted to be the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, like Lennox Lewis, like his mentor, that's his mentor, people. Okay, Lennox Lewis taught this guy how to jab. Lennox Lewis has informed us that Deontay Wilder is very much so receptive of what he has to say. He's more teachable. And he feels Anthony Joshua, because Joshua hasn't reached out to him or called him or any of that, is opposite of that. That isn't receptive because, you know, and I think Lennox Lewis honestly feels disrespected on his, you know, his proposal to manage him. Okay, Lennox Lewis had dreams and ideas and goals for Anthony Joshua. He had that. He had that all set in stone. He had, hey, I'm going to take you here. You know, I'm going to manage you in the States. And he wanted him to really be the Lennox Lewis second coming. I believe that. I believe Lennox Lewis wanted that. When Anthony Joshua started getting too big, way past the popularity and the stardom that Lennox Lewis did, despite everything that he'd done in the sport, I think on top of, you had the rejection of his offer to make him what he felt he wanted him to be, Lennox Lewis. The success Joshua got that he felt that he shouldn't have or didn't deserve, right? And he was doing that in one country, people. He wasn't doing that all over the world where Lennox Lewis had to be where he was. And people just didn't really like Lennox. I didn't like Lennox. I respected him. I knew he was a hell of a fighter and a great boxer. I knew he was trained by the best, which was Emmanuel Stewart and others. Okay, but he was not that guy. He was just not that popular fighter. And I think he sees more of himself in Deontay than AJ. He wanted AJ to go and look at, and follow his footsteps. But he didn't do that. That's what I honestly believe. I think that's the reason behind all this. Because Lennox Lewis wanted Anthony Joshua to do and go through the things that he had to go through. That's what he wanted. He feels that Anthony Joshua, in order to be successful, to be mentally, physically, strong, right, had to do the things that he did because he was in his footsteps a long time ago. But Lennox Lewis, unfortunately, hasn't received the success of Anthony Joshua in their own country, and I think that bothers Lennox, honestly. It's almost like the generation before you had to do much harder work than the generation of now, or the generation after that. And this is an example of so. Lennox Lewis had to do all types of shit, okay? Versus Joshua, he just had to stay the fuck home and do all that and make all that damn money over there. You imagine that? If I'm Lennox Lewis and if I had some type of preference or if I had some type of reverence in my own career, you could see how older heads can have a problem with that, honestly. Hell, we didn't have that when we grew up. That motherfucker's got it easy. You know what I mean? It's easy to be bitter about it. You know what I'm saying? Salty, right? And I believe that's what Lennox Lewis is, because if you think about it, I think that's what it's been all the whole time. Because why would Lennox Lewis bring this back up? Anthony Joshua called him a clown a long time ago, people. Joshua hasn't really spoke of Lennox Lewis lately. Excuse me. So why does Lennox Lewis feel the need to rehash things that's already been talked about, Counterpunch, discussed, mauled over? And then he's bringing it back up. It has to be what I just mentioned, But if Lennox Lewis was this type of fighter, I don't see why Deontay Wilder can't be that same type of fighter that did the same things or similar things that he did. If Lennox Lewis can teach Deontay Wilder and coach Deontay Wilder and mentor Deontay Wilder to throw a proper jab, he can teach Deontay Wilder to take sacrifices like he did. And I don't see how and why that is so hard for certain people to understand. If it's good enough for Lennox Lewis, it should be good enough for Deontay Wilder. Right? So if that was the case, why isn't it good enough for Deontay Wilder? If anything, guys, Lennox Lewis should be more mad or pissed off at Deontay Wilder for not accepting a certain amount of money because he thought he could win, based on what Lennox Lewis did in his career. You see what I'm saying? Lennox Lewis wanted to unify. He wanted to unify. He wanted to be undisputed, and he did that. But how did he do it? It took sacrifice. He took what someone offered him because he knew he could win. He knew he was not the A side of the equation, so he accepted the offer that was offered to him. Why doesn't he have that same advice for Deontay Wilder? You see what I'm saying? That's the advice. It's like, man, look, I know it's not easy being in this sport, but you got to take what people give you, and I think this is the opportunity for you. So why should he ride and side with Deontay Wilder to get more money where he didn't do it? Simple, But yet he wants Anthony Joshua to look, to walk in his footsteps. Well, if that's the case, you should want Deontay Wilder to do the same. So if Deontay Wilder is going to walk in your footsteps, he should in fact do what you did. And doing what Lennox Lewis did by accepting $10 million to beat Evander Holyfield and to fight Evander Holyfield, the challenge for that unification. He should do it. And so should Deontay Wilder. So if I'm Lennox Lewis and I really was consistent in not having a double standard and not contradicting myself from what I'm saying, I would have a problem with Deontay Wilder. Brother, you should have took the money. I took the money at a time when, you know, I knew I was worth more, but then I beat that guy. Now I'm worth more than that. And he was. Lennox Lewis was the man when he beat Holyfield twice. You know, the first one was labeled a draw, but the second one, he actually won twice. If you could call any fight, a draw would be the second fight because it was much more competitive. But Lennox Lewis clearly beat Evander Holyfield the first fight. But he took some money to do that. He accepted the offer. Deontay Wilder should be the same. Go and follow your mentor. That's my counterpunch on that. You guys tell me what you think about Lennox Lewis's comments. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.